right, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about SIM swap attacks and how you can protect yourself against these because you can lose a ton of money with these. These require a hacker to put in a little more effort than other methods. So typically when you see these being used, it's because the hackers have found out that you have a large amount of money stored in a bank account somewhere, maybe in a crypto exchange or something like that. And so they're going to try to switch your phone number over to where they have access to it. That way they can access your accounts. So I'm going to do is give you a couple real examples of SIM swap attacks that were used against people, and I'm going to go through how it is that they work and also how it is that you can protect yourself against these type of attacks. So I'm just going to give a couple of really brief examples, just give you a high level overview so you have an idea of what goes on with these things. So this one here talks about how a hacker stole $24,000 in change using a SIM swapper attack. And the thing that I want you to pay attention to with this is that it says Wells Fargo denied Roswell's claim. According to documents and letters he provided to Nine News, he said he was told by the bank that his username and password were used to initiate the wire transfer, which meant the company wasn't liable for the loss. And you'll see this in multiple examples. We're going to take a look at another one here in just a second. But this is why it's also really important to make sure you've got a good antivirus on your computer and that you're not visiting like weird websites or using an ad block and stuff like that, because if you end up with credential stealing malware and they get access to your phone number, so basically they have like session tokens or your username and password stuff, they can wreak all sorts of havoc on your personal life, and this is a pain in the ass to clean up if this kind of thing happens to you. So here's another quick example. This poster on Reddit was talking about how he was victim of a SIM swap scam and his Coinbase account was hacked. For those that don't know, Coinbase is a cryptocurrency exchange. The thing that we're just going to take a look at here real quick is it says, Coinbase has just gotten back to me in regards to my ticket 6 months later. They said they are not liable for damages, being that my SMS two-factor and email were entered correctly by the hacker. They also said my account will remain locked until the outstanding balance is paid. There's no case against Coinbase for this kind of thing. I've been in talks with my service provider to try and receive reimbursement, but they have been less than cooperative. I'm losing hope on that front too. And then he talks about how he might, or how he was considering like going to arbitration. I don't know what ended up happening with this, but he got his full account wiped out. And then here's just one other quick example, and then we're going to go into how this stuff works more specifically, and then also what you can do to protect yourself. So this was something that happened not too long ago. This was just a few months back. I read about this as soon as I had heard about it, saying that Kroll is a financial advisory solutions, and one of the employees ended up having their phone number changed around through T-Mobile. And if you go read through the whole thing, T-Mobile should have never even changed this phone number over to the hacker. They should have never given hacker access to this. But regardless, it did happen. And unfortunately, this kind of stuff happens frequently. Like if you go Google SIM swap attacks, you can find plenty of examples. Like I was able to find examples of stuff even just within the last week or two of these attacks successfully being used. So we're going to go through what it is that you need to do to protect yourself against this garbage. So I'll give a quick shout out to a commenter that asked this on a couple of videos ago. It was 94.2 MB was the commenter's name. They said, please talk about what to do with an old phone number and email which got leaked in a data breach. Privacy goes down the drain if a big company gets a data breach and your main phone number gets leaked. Now it's like a chain of data breaches where I am finding my data after the first one. Should I change my phone number? So we're going to go ahead and dive into this to answer this. And we're going to work through this. So they're asking about email. So I'm just going to cover email here real quick. So when it comes to email, I will say that email is not the biggest concern about going and change or like making a new email or anything like that, but it does come with a caveat. So with emails, typically the best practice for this is to have burner emails. So have like one email for all of your financial accounts, and then you could have like a burner email. So if you just go to like some random website that you want to get like, let's say an account with, or you could even do it for like merchant sites where even merchant sites are on the burner accounts, because a lot of merchant sites have issues with getting hacked as well. Or you could have a separate email for things like merchant websites. But if you have things compartmentalized, it'll certainly make it a lot easier when hacks happen. But the thing is that hacks in general happen quite a bit, so I would say don't get too worked up over emails. The other thing is, so if you're just trying to register with like some website, just have a user account, but it's not like a bank or a merchant website. If you're an Apple user, there's something called Hide My Email. This is specifically for people that are with the iCloud Plus service. The other thing you can do, if you're fine with using Google, you can just use multiple Gmail accounts. You could also use like multiple Proton Mail accounts, whatever works for you. Now, I said with caveat, so what's important here is that you're using two-factor authentication, but you're not using SMS. And I'm going to cover two-factor authentication here pretty soon when I dive into the phone side of things. The other thing that you have to be careful of is to not do anything that could get credential stealing malware installed on your computer. So don't open random attachments that people send you. Don't click on random weird download links, anything like that. That's all like just standard computer security stuff. I'm not going to jump through all of that, but if you want to get more detail on that, I made a video a few videos back or a few weeks ago talking about how not to get scammed, what they don't tell you. And I go into a lot more detail about how you can protect yourself against stuff like this. Overall, though, I would say don't worry too much about emails. It's not the biggest deal. Just it is really important that you use two-factor authentication with email, because if someone gets your email and you're using SMS two-factor authentication and they get that, they can, like I said, they can wreak havoc with your personal life. So just something to keep in mind. So let's go and get started with the phone stuff. So first of all, if your phone number gets leaked, like if you're using some sort of service and the website gets hacked, it's not, I would say you don't automatically need to worry about going and getting your phone number changed. Like I said, leaks happen quite a bit. It's going to be context dependent. And so I'm going to cover the context side of things with this video. The next thing is that it can be used to change passwords and contact info. So this is where you have to be careful with phone stuff. So there are times where people will set up phone two-factor authentication. If you have any websites or anything set up with that, I would recommend going and changing it over to a two-factor authentication app if you can, but there are some websites that don't allow it. And so the next thing that goes along with that, if you start getting calls from someone saying they are from a telecom company and they're saying something like, hey, we noticed there's a data breach or something like that. What this is that these, like 99.9% of the time, because telecom companies aren't going to do this. So anything like Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, whoever the cell carrier is. Maybe some places in Europe work a little bit different. Only a third of my audience is from the US, so I don't know how telecom companies work in Europe. But in the US, they would not call you to tell you, hey, your account's been hacked. We need to do like some sort of verification to make sure that your phone number is safe and all that kind of stuff. If that happens, just ignore it. It's someone that's trying to fish for more information in order to be able to carry out a SIM swap attack. Now, the other thing, and I've mentioned this, so using text message is really bad for two-factor authentication, just because SIM swap attacks are like a super viable way of hacking into somebody's accounts. But like I said, there are times where you'll end up coming across a website that doesn't allow another option. So in that case, I would just say make sure you're using really strong passwords. Make sure your email is using good two-factor authentication, because if they do try to access an account that doesn't allow some sort of other two-factor authentication, hopefully if they did try and go make any changes, that the website is set up well enough that it would at least send an email first before any changes can actually be forced through. But then again, a website that only allows SMS but doesn't allow for a two-factor app probably doesn't have great security practices anyway, so there is that to keep in mind. Next point, finances are the biggest threat from this, and this is pretty much why most hackers would use a SIM swap attack, because there's a lot of work that goes into this. And there's really not much benefit for a hacker to go and change a person's or change over a person's phone number to their control. With the work that's involved in this, typically what it is it's someone that knows that you have some sort of decent amount of money in a bank account where it's worth it for them to go through the trouble of going and changing this stuff over. So any sort of your financial accounts, bank accounts, crypto, anything like that, like I said, use a two-factor authentication app. And the other thing is they will piece together information, and that's when it becomes a problem with your phone number. And then what they'll do is they'll use scamming techniques. So like I said, if they get enough of your information put together, that's where, in what they did in the case of like multiple other breaches where people had issues with their SIM swap attacks, was they had enough info where they were able to put the pieces together enough to call the phone company to say, hey, I need you to put this phone number under control of this new cell phone. Typically what they'll do is they'll give like the new IMI number, which is like a unique serial number for a phone that phone carriers use. And they'll use multiple other pieces of information to put together and make it seem like that person is who they say they are. And then they, like I said, they may also try and use those calls to fish with you to try and get more information that way. So let's talk about some protection methods here. So the first thing, if you are going to follow through with changing your phone number, let's say you've determined that there's enough risk there that you want to switch over to a new number, the thing to keep in mind is before you do this, before you turn off your existing phone number, make sure you get your new number first, change your accounts over before you shut that number off, or otherwise you could permanently lose access to your accounts. And if it was something like a crypto account, I mean, if you lose access to that, your money's going to be gone forever. The thing to keep in mind is that even if you turn off two-factor authentication, like I've noticed some websites will have like forced two-factor authentication where you can't turn it off, but then they'll only do things like SMS. So make sure in that case, I would say before you even turn that phone number off, just make sure you migrate all of your accounts over to the new phone number first before you shut the old number off. The next thing that's really important, make sure you have notifications set up so any sort of financial activity or any other thing, any other changes that would be critical for you to know about. I mean, you could also do it for things like anytime a credit report is run or something to that effect. Notification should be set up on everything, but like I said, especially for financial accounts, so bank accounts, crypto, anytime money goes in, anytime money goes out, you should always be getting multiple notifications, email, phone number, things like that. I know this seems like it goes a little bit overboard, but once you have someone hacking your accounts, you'll realize it's a pain in the ass to clean up. But for the people that don't follow all of this stuff, I mean, it can take months. It can, like, it seriously can take months. Like, if you go read these articles here, you can lose out on money. You might never get your money back, like, ever, because these places are going to say, oh, well, it's not our responsibility. So you got to be really careful with this stuff. The next thing, so you can set PIN numbers on your accounts now. And so I don't know how it works over in Europe. I imagine your European telecom companies are probably similar, but at least here in the US, so like Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, you can set up PIN numbers so you can do these number lock features because the SIM swap attacks have gotten so out of control where anytime you go to try and change your phone number over to a different phone or different SIM card or whatever the case is, you have to have a PIN number in place. It is important that you remember that because if you forget it and you do go and try to actually legitimately change your number over to like a different phone or something like that, you're going to run into some issues and you may end up losing your phone. So just keep that. You may end up losing your phone number. So just go ahead and keep that in mind. The other thing, if you are doing anything with crypto, it needs extra security because of the way crypto works. And it's like these articles here are talking like this one with a bank account thing. Banks are going to be the same way. If your bank account gets hacked because of a SIM swap attack, you're probably going to be screwed. There might be cases where you can get your money back, but for the most part, banks are going to fight tooth and nail on giving refunds. And if you're crypto, if you have any sort of money in crypto, and that gets hacked, you are definitely never going to get it back. Like, it's just not going to happen. And so if you have a leak happen, and let's say you have like 50K worth of Ethereum or something to that effect, it might be a better idea to look at doing something like a hardware wallet. If you are going to use an exchange, again, you need to be using a two-factor authentication app, not SMS for 2FA. It needs to be one of the apps that provide the tokens that change like every 30 seconds. So on that front, there's a few different options that are available. There's Microsoft Authenticator, there's Google Authenticator, Authy. These are all good options here. Now, I know a lot of people watch my videos for the privacy factor. If you're concerned about privacy, it's going to get a little more muddy, especially if they don't do like cloud backups. That can be an issue. If you lose your phone and you're using one of these open source alternatives and they don't have cloud backups, let's say you just have the codes that you receive on your phone, you lose that phone and there's no way for you to like pull a cloud backup that I believe all three of these services have cloud backups. You're going to lose permanent access to your accounts unless you saved the backup codes that they gave you when you turned 2FA on for like a bank account or merchant site or crypto site or crypto exchange or whatever it is. If you don't have those codes backed up somewhere, you will lose permanent access to your accounts if you lose whatever the local source, like what doesn't have a cloud backup feature. There's also platform-specific apps that you can get. So like Aegis is only for Android. There's options out there that only work on like Apple phones. But if you go with one of these, they work across all the different platforms. So that's why typically for like ease of use, this is what I would recommend to people. But again, if you're really concerned about the privacy aspect, you'll need to do a little more planning and a little more preparation. And because cloud backups I don't think are available, at least on most of the open source apps. Just be careful what you're going to do as far as a backup method. And also, if you're going to pick one of these other apps, like if you're just browsing through the App Store looking for a 2FA app, also make sure it's reputable, because there's been plenty of cases of things like malicious Google apps that pretend to do one thing, but they're actually malware, and you definitely don't want to have tokens that can be accessed by a hacker, because then you're really screwed. And then the other thing that I'll mention is data breaches are always going to happen. So that's why I don't recommend sweating this stuff too much. Like at some point, like you can go and change your phone number every time every time a data breach happens. But data breaches are becoming so damn common these days that it's why I would recommend don't worry all that much about email or phone numbers. And especially if you're going to compartmentalize stuff, like you have an email for all of your financial accounts, and then let's say you have a phone number, let's say you have a pretty significant investment portfolio and you have a phone number that's assigned specifically for anything financially related. If it's compartmentalized, I would say don't worry about it too much. Just make sure you're using good practice. And like I said, I'd really strongly recommend going and checking out this video that I made just a few weeks ago talking about how not to get scammed what they don't tell you, because I give a lot of really actionable advice and a lot of stuff that you need to look out for, because social engineering is becoming super common, and that's how these hackers are able to gain access to a lot of accounts these days, because it's becoming easier than them trying to either buy a piece of malware that's good enough to overcome antivirus or make a piece of malware themselves. It's becoming a lot easier for them to just learn how to social engineer people. Anyway, it's gonna wrap the video up. I appreciate you if you stuck around this long. Appreciate the support, and I will see you on the next video.